Hello everybody, it's Ashley Rhianne and we're going to be doing a 45-minute Pilates fusion class today. So we're going to start the first set in standing. So let's just find a comfortable position. Let's pick up all 10 toes, really grounding down to the big toe mound, the pinky toe mound, and the heel of the foot, feeling that Pilates triangle. Thinking about lifting out of those hips to the tops of the ears. We're going to just do some gentle breath work to begin. So when you're ready, inhale, you're going to raise your arms overhead, shoulder blades are down, and exhale, arms return down to your side. Deep breath in, feeling your lungs expand in all three directions, and exhale, coming down. Last time, deep breath in, filling up those lungs, and let's soften the knees. We're going to send our chest all the way down towards the knees. Heavy head, your hands can just fall wherever they are. Shake your head, no, nod your head, yes. Making sure that we're breathing into those back ribs. Going to take a nice full deep breath in, and on the exhale, pressing through the feet. We're going to start by stacking the sit bones, the tailbone, the pelvis, torso, shoulders, and finally the head. And when you're ready, we're going to come and stand at the back of the mat. We're going to come into some downward dog position exercises. So when you're ready, let's dive forward. Take a nice deep breath in, and on the exhale, let's walk it out. So we want to really focus on lengthening from that tailbone. You can let those heels float one nice long line all the way from the tailbone to the tops of the heads. We're going to come into some gentle prancing here. So we're going to just start by bending one knee, which is going to lift up that heel, and we're going to press the opposite heel into the ground. So trying to keep about 50% weight in both feet. This is a Pilates exercise typically done on the reformer. Now let's lift both heels up and press it down, just really lengthening all the way from that heel bone all the way to the sit bone, feeling a nice stretch through that back line of the body. Beautiful. Let's do a few more here. And when you're ready, we're going to walk it all the way back, soft knees, chin to chest, and let's just start by slowly unfurling that spine, pressing to the feet, and stacking through the entire vertebral line until the tops of our head. We're going to come and stand in the center of our mat. We're going to externally rotate through the hips to open the feet out to the corners of the room, and we're going to come into a squat position. Knit those ribs together. The knees are opening in the line of the toes. We're going to take a nice deep breath in to prepare, and on the exhale, we're going to work into that forward flexion of that rib cage. So think about drawing those ribs closer towards the hips as we round the upper spine. Inhale to come all the way up, and exhale again, forward fold. I'm going to just change my position just so that you can see a bit clearly what I'm doing here. Again, keeping that nice open squat position with the legs, focusing on those ribs. And we're going to come into a torso circle. So when you're ready, we're going to think about drawing those ribs to hips, moving right through the center, opening straight through the back, shining that chest upwards towards the ceiling to work on getting some nice rotation. And then you can switch your direction whenever you feel ready. Again, pressing down through the feet to hold that squat position. And let's just finish back to center. We're going to work on some rotation, so let's stay in that squat position. Keep your hip bones facing front, knit those ribs together, and on our exhale, we're going to rotate from the tops of those hip bones over towards the right. Inhale to center, exhale over towards the left, making sure that we're always looking towards that back elbow to keep extending that nice rotation line. Again, moving right from the waist, right from the tops of those hip bones, and try to see if you can go a little bit further each time that you rotate. Let's come back to center. We're going to straighten those arms, shoulder blades down, and we're going to come into a plie position a little bit deeper. We're going to rotate with a double exhale to the right. Inhale through center and repeat to the left. We want to keep spreading those wings nice and wide. So like we're trying to touch the corners of the rooms while keeping our scapula anchored. Those ribs are knitted together, and trying to focus again on moving right from the tops of those hip bones. This double exhale allows you to get a little bit deeper on that extra exhale. So just try to see how much further you can twist yourself back, obviously making sure that you're nice and safe. This is a really beautiful exercise to really open up through the hips and through that back. And rotation is always really important for us as we don't do a lot of it in our day-to-day life. And let's come back to center. We're going to come into a deeper plie, keeping the pelvis nice and tucked, ribs knitted together. Arms are going to be behind the head at a 45 degrees, and we're working on some lateral flexion. So whenever you're ready, we're going to draw the ribs towards the hips, really focusing on that side body contraction. Now, I want you to also connect with that opposite side. So as you're drawing those ribs to hips on one side, the other side's going to lengthen. So keep that really nice lengthening line from the sit bone all the way into the armpit, so that we're actually working both sides together in these different opposing movements here. And on our next side bend, we're going to extend that top arm, return back to center, side bend, reach that arms towards that ceiling, back to center. Beautiful. Let's come into that deeper squat, hold it here. I know it's hard, but you got this. And let's release that. Beautiful. We're going to keep in that plie position, again, focusing on the knees opening in the line of the toes. We're very flat in the front, so the energy is coming literally right down between our legs. And we're going to work on some plies here. So those of you who are used to my dance classes, you've done these many a time in my classes. I really love these. I always say strong legs make for strong dancers. So we're going to work on these nice deep plies. So always focusing on opening the knees in the line of the toes, slurping up through those inner thighs to draw the energy all the way in. And now we're going to hold and we're going to pulse. So we're going to do about 2 or 3 inches up, focusing really on that down and down, down and down. Good. Arms raise up, shoulder blades are down. We're going to hold it here. And breathe and smile. Beautiful. Let's lengthen those arms and let's press all the way up. And we're going to come into some full range squats again. We're not quite done. Feeling those sit bones widen as you bend the knees and bring those hips closer towards the ground. And we're going to pulse and pulse and pulse and pulse and pulse and pulse. Keep going. Let's raise those arms up. Let's hold it here. Come a little bit lower. And let's release. Good work. Let's shake out those legs. They've just worked really hard. Beautiful job. We're going to come into one of my favorite standing exercises, and I call it the 3-level chair. So let's have our hands together in front of our chest. We're going to have our feet about 2 fists apart, just feeling really grounded with our weight shifting slightly towards our heels. We're going to sit back on an invisible chair. We're going to keep that chest lifted. Those ribs are knitting together. We're going to press into those hands, and we're holding it here for 20 seconds. This is level 1 of the chair. So we're going to work down in increments. So don't go too far on the first one because you're going to have to go really far on the second. All right, let's drop those hips down a little bit lower here, really feeling up the fire in the legs, in the quads. Keep those ribs knitted together. And we're coming into the 3rd level of that chair. Hold it here. Focus on the weight of your feet. So again, a lot of your weight's going to shift towards the heel. So try to just distribute it slightly towards the midfoot to the heel. And let's press all the way up. Let's shake out those legs. We're going to come into a one-legged chair, and I'm just going to turn around and do it facing you. So we're going to work with that left leg first. So let's come into around a level 2 of our chair, weight that left leg, and we're going to float that right foot off of the floor a few inches, pressing into our hands to really just maintain our balance, and we're just going to hold it here. So focusing again on really firing up through that left side, squeeze those hands together to help hold that balance. You might feel your legs start to shake, that's okay. And let's release. We're gonna go over towards the right side now. So keep those ribs knitted together and we're gonna float that left foot off of the floor, using your lower abdominals to help hold and support that left leg. Again, we're kind of trying to hold it around our level 2 mark from our previous chair. And let's release. And let's shake out those legs. Good work. We're going to repeat this all again. So let's come back into our level 1 position for our chair. So when you're ready, we're going to sink our hips down to that level 1 position. Again, focusing on the weight shift of the feet. Checking in, that making sure they're about 2 fists apart, and we're going to hold it for about 20 seconds. And let's come into level 2. Making sure we're breathing. Keep lifting out of those hips to keep nice and strong on the upper body. And level 3, here it is. See if you can go a little bit lower than you could the first time. You're pretty warmed up now, so I bet you can. And here we are, release. Good work, kick out those legs. And we're gonna do everything again with our one-legged stand. So coming back, weighting those left leg, float that right foot off of the ground, holding that position, knitting those ribs together. See if you can come a tiny bit lower. Challenge that balance and stability. And coming up, beautiful. Let's shift our weight over towards the right. We're gonna float that left foot off of the floor. Use the lower belly to help pull that knee into the air. And we're holding again for about 20 seconds on each side. And release. And let's give our legs a really big kick out. We're going to start to add some light weights to our workout. So what's important here is that you want a lower weight. I would say definitely under 5 pounds. Here I'm using 2 pounds. So they can be toning balls, they can be dumbbells, they can even be cans of soup or cans of coconut milk. So we're going to come back to standing, get nice and grounded in the feet, and we're just going to work on some internal and external rotation of the shoulder. This is super important because a lot of injuries happen within our rotator cuff, and so we want to make sure that we're working these muscles in a really nice low resistance form of exercise. And let's finish it up here. We're going to come into a bit of a lower squat, so shift the weight towards the heels, and we're going to keep with this internal rotation with the arms, and we're just going to add some lengthening of those arms out to the side, about shoulder height, really focusing on stretching those arms like you're spreading your wings, and then drawing down actively with the elbows to help engage all the muscles in our back, under our armpit, and our chest. Just moving with the breath. So I always like to exhale on the exertion and inhale to return. And on this next one, let's rotate palms down, palms up as we come back into that internal rotation. So this is a really nice dynamic sequence here. We're really working all the muscles in the arms and the shoulder girdle, as well as the shoulder and chest stabilizers here. We're working with weights. We're working with that extended arm position against gravity. So you might feel that your arms are getting a little bit more tired working in this nice little flow. And let's just hold our arms nice and long, out straight, and we're just going to work on that pronation and supination here. So it's a very small rotational movement through that shoulder girdle, again, really strengthening those muscles in the rotator cuff. And it's going to have that added challenge, of course, with the weights. And let's draw it back in. Good work. We're going to come into a plie squat here, so sit nice and low on those legs. Let's bring the arms to about 90 degrees in line with the shoulders, and we're just going to continue to work on this rotation through the shoulder girdle, right through those internal and external rotators. Try your best to keep your elbows at shoulder height. You're working on that 90 degrees angle with the upper and the lower arms, focusing on that rotation forward and up. We're going to start to add a little press together in the front. So we're going to work on that rotation forward, come up, press those arms together and open. Now you are holding fairly light weights. You have to tap into that internal muscle energy to really squeeze that air between those arms as you bring those hands to touch. Open up and coming into that rotation. Really focusing on the front part of that chest when we're squeezing those arms together and using the scapula to help bring your arms back out to that 90 degrees position out to the side. Let's get into a wider plie squat here, making sure that our knees are opening in line of the toes, and we're going to start to add an overhead press with that squat. So as we sink those hips towards the floor, we're going to power through those legs and we're going to stretch those arms up towards the ceiling, making sure that our scapula helps anchor our shoulders from floating up around our ears. Tons of power here, focusing on really seeking that length all the way from the tops of those weights to the tops of those toes. And here we go, little tiny pulses. We're going to pulse down and down, really focusing on that downward motion of that squat just to really work the booty, work those legs, and you're all done. Good work. Shake out those legs. We're going to keep working with our upper arms, and we're going to work on some tricep extensions. So we're going to step that right leg back into a lunge position, keeping the body upright. Hip bones are facing forward, knit those ribs together, and we're going to focus on that hinge position of the elbow. So really pressing into close to your end range as you straighten those arms just to really get into those triceps. Keeping your gaze in front of your mat. Nice long neck. And we're going to do one more, and let's hold the arms straight. And now we're going to just pulse those arms up towards the ceiling. The palms are facing up. Again, we're making sure that those shoulder blades are down, those ribs are knitted together. We have that nice long neck. And now let's shift our weight onto that left leg. We're going to touch that right toe to the left heel, opening that right knee out to the diagonal. So we're making almost a diamond shape with that right leg. We're going to still keep holding the weights back so that we're still challenging the triceps as we step that foot in and touch it back. And let's step it in and stand all the way up, and we're going to reverse everything over towards the left side. So again, focusing on those hips nice and square and that nice lunge position. Lots of weight on that right leg this time as we work through our tricep extensions and our presses. And let's transition our weight over towards that right leg by stepping that left foot in, touching that left toe to the back of that right heel, opening that knee to the corner, making that diamond shape, really firing up through that right leg. There's a ton of stuff happening here. And let's stand it up and give those legs a little wiggle. So we're all finished with the weights in standing. So let's just kind of pop those weights down. Give yourself a little bit of a stretch. Roll out your shoulders, stretch those arms, do some side bending. And we're going to come to the top of the mat. We're going to do a nice roll down to come into our 4-point position. So in our cat and cow position. So when you're ready, diving forward with the tops of the heads, and we're just going to walk out and drop those knees. We're going to work on some scapular work, so let's make sure that we set our wrists and our hands underneath the shoulders, and we're going to start by retracting the shoulder blades. Then we're going to press back into neutral, and now we're going to round the spine up towards the ceiling, tucking through the ribs and coming right back to neutral. We draw the shoulder blades down. Our chest is going to sink slightly, come back to neutral, tuck and round all the way up, making this super active. So we want to really focus on that rounding position, that we're pulling our belly button away from our t-shirt. We're pressing into those hands. Good. And let's just do one more here. Let's tuck our toes under. Let's just realign our wrists, making sure that our knuckles are pressing into the floor, making sure that our shoulder blades are drawn back down the back. Pull the belly button in, and let's float those knees about 2 inches off of the floor. We want to really picture that float of the knees is facilitated by those lower abdominals. Keep that neck nice and straight. We're holding it here, and let's float those knees back down. Let's just shake out those wrists. You can flip them up, you can press them back, whatever you need to do to release that tension. And let's get back to the position. And let's do it again. Take a nice inhale to prepare, and on the exhale, let's float those knees. They're just hovering off of the mat. Again, really using our lower belly to help keep those knees floating. We're pressing through the toes, pressing through the hands. Shoulder blades are down, looking just ahead of the mat to keep that neck nice and long. Let's give those wrists a little bit of a shake. And when you're ready, we're going to come back to that position again. So just making sure that the knees are underneath the hips. Tuck those toes under, and when you're ready, we're going to pull the belly button in, float those knees. Now we're going to shift the weight forward over the hands and using the belly to draw it back to our 90 degrees position. So trying to keep that back nice and straight. The belly button is in. Those knees are floating as we just shift forward and back and forward and back. One more time. And let's drop those knees. Let's sit back into a shell stretch. Reach those arms forward. If you want to flip the wrists, please feel free. Just taking a nice deep breath in, breathing into those back ribs. And let's come back to our position. So let's just make sure everything is aligned. Shake out the wrists, shake out the shoulders, tuck the toes under. And when you're ready, take a nice deep breath in. Exhale, let's float those knees. We're just going to hover each foot off of the ground a few inches, trying to really focus on keeping that back really straight and that pelvis steady. So I like to say it's like you've got 2 martinis on your hips, so you don't want to disturb those martinis. So keep tucking in with the pelvis and with the belly, making sure we use those lower belly muscles to help float those feet off of the floor. And let's bring those knees down. Let's sit back in that child's pose position, flipping the wrists up towards the ceiling just to release any tension. Good, and let's come back. We have a few more things to do in this position. So again, just get yourself reestablished. And when you're ready, take a nice deep breath in to prepare. And on your exhale, we're going to float those knees up. We're going to now step into a plank position and then walk our feet back to that 4-point position. So again, really focusing on keeping the back and the pelvis super steady. We're using those lower belly muscles to help elongate and pull those knees back in. And we're also now involving the legs. So make sure that those kneecaps are sliding up the legs. We don't want to lock out those knees. So just keeping those legs nice and active, lots of buoyancy in the feet. And let's rest. And let's sit back. Take a nice deep breath in. All right, we're done. Let's come back into our cat and cow position, and we're gonna go into cat and cow just to make sure that our back is nice and mobile, feels really good. So when you're ready, on that inhale, let's arch that spine up towards the ceiling, and on the exhale, let's drop through that pelvis. Let's do this a few more times. Just really enjoying that fluidity of movement, just releasing any tension. That rounding feels so good. All right, let's grab our weights. All right, so we're going to come back into that 4-point position, and we're going to have the weight in the left hand, and let's extend the right leg. So let's make sure that both hip bones are facing the floor. We're knitting those ribs together, and we're going to be lifting from the top of that hamstring, bottom of that glute, as well as that scapula. So we want to keep drawing the scapula down the back to make sure that the shoulder does not shrug up around the ears. So we want to think about one long line from the tips of those toes all the way to the tips of those fingers. And let's just keep our head looking down straight at the mat. Little tiny pulses here, doing half range just to continue firing up through that back body. All right, let's take the weight out of the hand. and we're going to extend that right leg. We're going to come into some hot potato. So we're going to lift that leg up, cross it over the left, and then drop it back over to the right. So this is a nice little rotation through the pelvis. We're going to keep that leg straight. Again, really lifting with the back line of the legs. Try to keep your pelvis and your torso as steady as possible. You're going to move a little bit. And straight up. Here we go. So we're going to focus on that. Up and up and up. We're really burning out the backs of those legs. Good work. And let's shake out those wrists. And let's switch sides. The weight's going to go into the right hand. Extend that left leg. And here we go. Focusing again at the top of those hamstrings, bottom of those glutes, moving right from that scapula. We're having a nice neutral neck, so keeping the neck nice and long, looking just slightly ahead of the mat, and focusing on that extension through the tops of those, tips of those toes and those fingers. Coming into some short range pulses here. Remembering to breathe. And let's pop that weight down to the side. Let's reset, get everything in alignment. And we're going to come into our hot potato. So lifting that leg up. That foot should come up over your head if you are looking in a window, in a mirror. So you want to make sure that you keep lifting as much as you can. Get that leg nice and high as we cross over the midline and then back to the original side. We're just burning it out, and let's align those hips, and we're going to do our short range pulses here. Doesn't need to be a big movement. You just need to feel it right in the backs of those legs. Gorgeous. And let's sit back. And when you're ready, let's come shift our weight forward, and we're going to come lie down on our stomachs in a prone position. We're going to open our legs so that they're about mat width apart. We're going to spiral those inner thighs in towards each other, which is going to slightly externally rotate the feet. We're going to slide the kneecaps up the legs to keep the legs nice and active. Press the pubic bone down. Belly button is drawing in towards the spine. The ribs are knitted together, and they're also, those bottom ribs are connected to the floor. We're going to take a nice deep breath in to lengthen, and on the exhale, we're going to float the arms, and we're going to slide the chest forward and up to shine that chest. The legs are going to hover. Inhale, we're going to dive forward into that Superman position, and as we exhale, we're going to draw those elbows in towards our waist into our W pull. So here it's all about length and then getting that nice back contraction, shining that chest forward. If you want to add a little bit of resistance, you can grab those weights just to add a bit more of a challenge. The chest again is going to dive forward as you straighten those arms out in front, and it's going to lift and shine forward as you bend the elbows in towards the chest. Let's just do a few more here. And let's place the hands on opposite sides of the head. We're going to work on some lateral side bends here. So we're going to keep the chest facing the floor, but we're going to focus on drawing the ribs to hips on each side. Keep those legs elevated if you can. If you want to press them down into the floor, please feel free. And we're just really working that really nice side bend connection. Again, drawing those ribs to hips. Our attention is looking at the floor, and we're keeping our chest slightly elevated. Make sure that the belly button is drawing in towards the spine. And let's press it back into that nice shell stretch. And when you're ready, let's roll up, and we're going to come and lie down on our side. So just make sure that the area is free and come and lie down. So it's up to you if you want to have your ear on your arm extended on the floor, or if you want to just bend your elbow and cradle your head in your hands. We're going to just work on some legs. So we're going to slide that top leg up the bottom leg, and then we're really just going to straighten at the very top, really focusing on seeking that length. Lots of energy here, and we're actively drawing that foot up and then opening right at the hip. Beautiful job. And let's flex the foot, and we're just going to do some leg lifts here. So we're trying to make sure that both hip bones are facing the front. that we can feel our bottom ribs on the mat, and we're going to slightly just lift away from the floor just to activate that side body. Good, and let's bring that bottom leg up to touch the top leg. So the top leg should be just about hip height. So we have to really fire through that bottom leg, that inner thigh, to help lift that leg to touch the top. Making sure we're breathing. And let's go into our mermaid tail. So let's lift both legs up. So I always like to picture that bottom leg as doing a lot of work to help support that top leg. We're also focusing here on our obliques and our side body. So make sure that you stay nice and strong in that torso when you're doing this movement. Let's bring our legs slightly out in front of us so that we're creating a little bit of a hip crease. This is going to work the side body. So we're going to kick that top leg forward and extend it back. So we're going to do a double exhale as we flex at the hip. Inhale to extend that hip back. Exhale and inhale. We extend that ankle, then we flex as it comes forward. So ideally we want to try to get a 90 degrees angle with that leg at the hip. If you can't, that's okay, and you might find that you need to do this a few times and then your hip and your hamstring start to loosen up. That's totally fine, but it's really important to counteract that forward flexion with that back extension. It's a lot of side body work. Good job. We're going to repeat everything on the left side. And you're all done. Give your hips a bit of a shake. Good work. We're going to come and do some core work and seated. So when you're ready, let's grab those weights. And we're going to come and sit with our feet about sit bone distance apart. So I want you to really connect with those sit bones. Draw the shoulder blades down the back. And we're going to be doing a roll down. So we're going to really tuck through the pelvis and roll back towards the tailbone while keeping our upper back really straight. So we're almost sitting in almost like a bit of a sling in our lower body. So we can just do a few little pelvic rocks here. And when you're ready, let's wheel ourselves back. And we're going to hold this position. We're going to take a nice deep breath in. And on the exhale, we're going to lift those arms straight up to the ceiling. Again, moving right from the back body, Keep those front ribs knitted together. Our gaze is forward and we're moving with the breath, trying to focus on extending the arms up towards the ceiling and then actively pressing down as we lower those arms to about shoulder height. And we're going to keep those arms up and we're going to do tiny little pulses back. So I want the emphasis to really be on pressing those arms to the back wall behind you, trying to keep the upper body fairly still. Beautiful. And let's draw the elbows down by our side and we're just going to lengthen them up from the ceiling. So we're doing a really nice scooped position. So if you're familiar with Pilates, this is called offering. So we scoop, bend the elbows back, shine forward, reaching up, coming back down. So there's a really nice half circular motion happening with the arms in this move. You're almost done. One more. Lovely. Let's bring the hands in towards the chest and we're just going to open the arms out towards the side and bend the elbows so that those weights come back to the chest. So if you feel like you're losing your lower abdominal connection here and that your hip flexors are gripping, just have a really nice reset. You can sit up a little bit higher, so don't lean so far back. If your lower abdominals need a little bit of some core work to get strong, it's better to sit up a little higher than to really allow those hip flexors to kick in. We're going to do the same thing, but we're going to open one arm at a time with a little bit of rotation. So we're going to exhale to rotate, inhale to return. As we rotate, we want to use our eyes to follow that hand that's opening. That's going to help us connect through the abdominals a little bit more. It's going to help us twist a little bit more and just keep everything nice and active in this movement. Let's do one more each side. I know it's tough. I'm starting to feel it too. And let's come into a really nice forward fold. Just let everything go. Curl the upper body. Take a nice deep breath in, breathing through those back ribs. Lovely. And we're going to come and lie down on our back. So we're going to bring our legs into a tabletop position. We're going to pop those weights in the hands just above the shoulders so that we're in one nice long line. We're going to work on some opposition here. So let's lengthen the right arm and left leg, and then we're going to do the opposite side. So here we're really focusing on stability. So we're moving again from that scapula. So make sure when you extend that arm overhead, we're not popping through the rib cage, and we're trying to keep the pelvis super stable. If you have to work in an imprinted position here, please feel free. If you can work in neutral safely, then just stay in neutral. We're trying to really seek length all the way from the tops of those fingers to those toes, working on that nice body X from opposite shoulder to leg. And this is a really great core exercise here because you're quite supported. We're going to come into some unilateral work. So we're just going to work with the right sides. We're just going to open the right arm and the right leg slightly out to the side, and then we're going to draw everything back in towards the midline. In order to do this, you have to make sure that that left side is super heavy on the mat so that you want to keep the pelvis in the same position, and we're literally just moving those limbs in the joint out to the side and then back in. It feels really challenging. We're going to switch to the left here, focusing this time on having a super heavy right side, maintaining that stability. This exercise is really challenging because you're holding stability while your limbs are moving, and so you have to really tap into your internal and external obliques as well as your transverse abdominis to really keep everything nice and centered with that movement. And that's it. Let's bend the knees. Let's reset the back. Shake out those ankles. Let's place those weights to the side. We're going to bring our legs together in parallel. We're going to just keep our body in our level 1 position. We're going to inhale to prepare, and on the exhale, we're going to extend one long line from the hips all the way to the toes. Inhale to draw those knees in, and exhale to extend. We're going to start to add our beat, so let's clap those legs together 3 times. Inhale to draw those knees in towards the chest, exhale, extend, and clap. If you want to challenge yourself, you can come into your level 2 position, bringing those ribs towards those hips, and we're going to just continue with the same exercise here, making sure that when we clap those legs together, we're focusing on the inner thighs, not just the feet, so that we're engaging the whole inner line of the leg. This is really challenging, so take a break when you need. You can always come in and out of your level 1 position with your torso. We're now going to draw the heels together and draw the knees out towards the side. So we're in our frog position. So we always want to really keep pressing those feet in towards each other equally, and we're going to start to add our beats. So inhale, draw those heels in towards the body line. As we exhale, we extend the legs and we clap the legs together 3 times. This is just another variation. I love this variation. Again, if you want to challenge, you can come into your level 2 by curling those ribs towards the hips. It just extends that body line a little bit more, adds some upward flexion in the chest. Of course, it's also working all of that stability yet again for the core. And let's bring the knees into chest. Let's just roll out the back to release. We're going to come into our bicycle. So let's bring the legs back into that tabletop position. You can place a heavy head in your hands. You're going to take a nice deep breath in to lengthen, and on your exhale, let's knit those ribs together and fold those ribs towards the hips. We want to really focus here on that cross-body connection. So I really like to focus on trying to bring the armpit to the opposite knee as opposed to the elbow. Of course, the elbows might touch, but I want you to really focus on getting that really nice twist across to touch that opposite leg. We're always exhaling as we cross. Inhale right through center and exhale. Extending that opposite leg nice and long. And let's just release. Let's place our hands just down by our side, and we're going to extend those legs into a little bit of an extended tabletop position here. We're going to knit those ribs together, really connect those back ribs on the mat. And we're going to work on some reverse crunches here. So I want you to picture that pubic bone is coming up towards your nose as you gently peel your lower back off of the floor. So we're using lots of control here. I like to really picture those lower abdominal fibers drawing up and in. It's quite deep, and we're not trying to use momentum. The movement can stay pretty low. Let's just hold it here. And let's relax the hips down. Let's roll out side to side, and let's take a nice big stretch. You definitely deserve it. And let's keep those legs about mat width apart. Let's flex the heels. The arms are going to reach overhead. We're going to inhale the arms up above the shoulders, and on the exhale, we're going to slowly peel ourselves vertebra by vertebra off of the mat. Inhale, we're going to stack up on the sit bones, and on the exhale, we're going to roll back again, trying to make that spine nice and long as we extend those arms overhead. Inhale, and on the exhale, leading with the crown of the head, tucking the nose, tucking the chin, we're going to round forward. So the energy at the top of the head is moving towards those toes, and those hips are trying to reach to that wall behind you. So we're getting a really beautiful reciprocal stretch here. And let's just do a quick little hamstring stretch. Keep that nice curve in the spine, and let's come out of that. Roll the shoulders back. And let's come and sit cross-legged. Good work, everybody. That was a workout. That was 45 minutes. Good for you. All right, let's just come into some mermaid side bending here. So when you're ready, let's go over to the left. Let's draw those left ribs to hips. And let's switch over to the right. So we always inhale right through center, grow out of those sit bones. And on the exhale, we'll fold over to the left, inhale through center, and draw those right ribs to hips on the right. We're going to come to some spinal twists here. So let's just bring the right hand to the left knee as we exhale to twist, making sure that we're looking over that back shoulder just to get a little bit deeper in the core and in the torso. interlace those fingers. We're going to come into a little bit of some torso flexion here. And let's interlace those fingers. Let's spread those shoulders apart, shining that chest forward. And let's reverse that again, really sitting behind those sit bones, getting a really nice deep stretch through that back body, and arms behind you stretching through the chest. Good work, everybody. You're all done. Thank you so much. I hope to see you guys again soon. And again, please like, subscribe, and comment below.